Picture this. You are running exactly 5 minutes late. You approach the door, your heart doing a light tap dance against your ribs. You turn the handle, the door creaks. And as you step inside, every single head turns to look at you. In that exact microsecond, your brain sets off a nuclear alarm. You think, they're judging my outfit. They're looking at how awkwardly I'm walking. They know I messed up. You find a seat, sweating, convinced you've just given a masterclass in public embarrassment. But here's the mind-bending truth that modern psychology has proven, time and time again. Almost nobody in that room cared. In fact, most of them didn't even register that you walked in. Welcome to one of the most powerful, persistent cognitive illusions built into the human brain. It's called the spotlight effect, and understanding how it tricks you is the closest thing to a real-world superpower for shutting down social anxiety. Today, we are dismantling the psychological machinery behind why we feel so intensely judged. We're looking at the hilarious Ivy League experiment that proved we're all tripping over nothing, and learning how to finally turn that burning spotlight off. To understand how deep this illusion goes, we have to look at a legendary study conducted by psychologist Thomas Gilovich at Cornell University. Gilovich wanted to test human paranoia in its purest form, so he targeted a group of college students and forced them to do something truly horrific. Wear a highly embarrassing t-shirt, specifically, a shirt featuring a massive face of pop singer Barry Manilow, which, to the average college student at the time, was the ultimate social death sentence. The researchers made individual students put on the shirt and walk into a room where a group of their peers were sitting. The student had to sit there for a couple of minutes, feeling the searing heat of what they thought was collective mockery, before being let out. Once outside, the researchers asked the embarrassed student a simple question. What percentage of people in that room do you think noticed your shirt? The students, on average, were absolutely convinced that at least 50% of the room had clocked their fashion disaster. They thought half the room was actively judging them. But when the researchers privately interviewed the people sitting in the room, the actual number of people who noticed was a mere 23%. More than 3/4 of the room were completely oblivious. They didn't even see the giant face on the shirt. Why does this happen? Why are our brains so wildly inaccurate at guessing what others think of us? It comes down to something psychologists call the egocentric bias. Because you live 100% of your life behind your own eyes, you are the director, the editor, and the main character of your own biographical movie. You are hyper-aware of every blemish, every awkward sentence, and every mistake, because you are experiencing them in high definition. But here's the catch. Everyone else is also the main character of their own movie. When you are walking down the street, are you actively analyzing the scuff marks on a stranger's shoes, or the minor stutter of the barista? No, you're wondering if you locked your front door, worrying about a text you sent, or replaying an argument you had 3 years ago. Everyone else is far too trapped in their own spotlight to care about yours. You are just an extra in their script. This bias triggers a secondary psychological trap called the illusion of transparency. We don't just think people are looking at us, we falsely believe they can see right through us. If you give a presentation and your heart is hammering against your ribs, your brain assumes your internal panic is leaking out like a neon sign. In reality, audiences almost never notice a slight tremor in a hand or a brief pause. Your internal storm is invisible to the outside world. So, how do we shatter this illusion and reclaim our peace of mind? You need 2 immediate psychological shifts. First, switch your attention from inward to outward. When social anxiety hits, your focus naturally zooms inward. You start monitoring your posture, your breathing, your facial expressions. Force your eyes out. Count the number of blue chairs in the room. Focus entirely on the exact words the other person is saying, rather than planning your next perfect sentence. Second, employ the 1-week rule. The next time you drop your keys, stumble over a word, or feel like you made a fool of yourself, ask, will anyone in this room remember this 1 week from now? The honest answer is almost always a resounding no. They won't even remember it by dinner time. At first, realizing that people aren't paying attention to you might sound a little lonely. But if you flip the perspective, it is the most liberating realization you will ever have in your life. It means the stakes are incredibly low. It means the minor stumbles, the bad hair days, the awkward pauses, and the creative risks that didn't quite land, they all evaporate from the collective social memory. Almost instantly. The spotlight isn't real. It's just a shadow cast by your own mind. So take a deep breath, step out of the imaginary light, and just live your life. Because truly, nobody is watching.